but they're also trying to control my belief system, right?
That's right.
And when we're talking about sports specifically,
Mhm.
every interview that I will do, and I will keep saying it, is that I will call them a man or a woman because we
Mhm.
need to bring in the biology part of it because bodies compete in sports, not identities.
Hey everybody. Oh wow. Wait do you see who I caught today. I'm like so like all day I'm being really giddy when getting ready for this interview. But that being said, I thank everybody for watching, subscribing, helping me build this channel so I can bring these amazing. I mean, all my guests are amazing, but yeah, I just feel so happy today to talk to somebody who I've been wanting to talk to somebody about this and nobody else would step up to the plate. And this person, April, is amazing and is doing huge amounts of great work for women's rights and sports and and even I believe trans rights on some level. So people might disagree with me, but I don't. I think what she is doing is hugely powerful on so many levels. So with that, I have April here today, and April, look at me, I'm so giddy. Introduce yourself, friend.
Oh, I love it. No, I'm so excited to be on here as well to speak with you, Buck. So yeah, so I'm a former three-time Team Canada powerlifter. Been fighting for. I was also banned by my federation, the Canadian Powerlifting Union, for speaking up about wanting fairness in our sports. Um, Basically, I got banned for speaking biological facts on. It was the Pierce Morgan show that that was the clip that got me banned.
Wow.
So yeah, I've just been an advocate. I wouldn't really call. I guess I'm a feminist, but I'm an advocate for women's rights. I'm
Yep.
pro fairness in sports and pro woman. Yes.
Yes, so right on. You're powerful, friend. So basically the crux of the story, everybody, is that April didn't want to compete against a biological male. She's a biological female, and that's why we separate. I mean, my God, everyone knows my stance on sports. Trans women are biological males. They do not belong in women's sports. I don't care how you identify. None of that. You can't change my mind. I was a female athlete. Mm-mm-mm. So that being said, April was like, "No, I'm putting my foot down on this. I'm not going to compete against these people." Is that not the case that you did that?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, it was back in 2022. There was a male athlete by the name of Ann Andrus that
And Andrews.
I was supposed to compete against at nationals, and I basically refused to show up and compete against him. We did have a little bit of a protest, which they tried to kick us out. So, but no, I've been outspoken. I've been, battling this with my federation for over a year now. I've met some great people though, like Riley Gaines and some other great female athletes that are like been
That's right.
outspoken. So it's been it's been a year from hell, but it's also been probably more positives and a blessing at the same time
Wow.
too.
Well, I mean, that says a lot about you too. The fact that you're willing to take something like this on, it's not easy. For myself, I really champion, on some level, I'm considered an outlier in the trans community because I will not stand for a lot of the nonsense that is happening. Not, it doesn't only hurt you as a female, April, it hurts us as transsexual people. When this kind of nonsense gets put out there, never has this been an issue in the transsexual community. I transitioned 31 years ago, April. Never did we talk about trans women competing with women. They know they're biological males. So these new trans women are something else. I don't know what's happening, but they would have never done this before, ever. It's
Yeah, but I think the way things have changed now, though, Buck, is that 30 years forward, everyone's jumping on the human rights bandwagon, right?
that's right.
Whether it's Black
That's right.
Lives Matter or
That's
like
right.
I know people in my life that they never once spoke about say Black Lives Matter. Then all of a sudden I saw this little in their Instagram bio it says Black Lives Matter, and I was like, oh, sorry, I didn't know you were so passionate about that. Like, yeah, everyone's offended. Everyone wants to jump on this human rights. If you look at someone the wrong way, you go to the Human Rights Tribunal here in Ontario. like, you know.
I
So
know. It's shocking. We don't have, I mean, Canada's really come down a lot. I mean, really hardcore. Not as bad as a US. US is getting there. But Canada is like literally, they put tampons in the men's room.
yeah, no, it's true. They are in the men's room. I mean,
What?
it's Yeah,
I mean, look, I'm a biological female. I used to get my period, but I take testosterone clearly now, right? It literally shuts
yeah,
down your whole reproductive system. You don't need a tampon or a Kotex if you're really a trans guy transitioning. It's also very dysphoric for us to see a tampon in the men's room makes me have this ick of, you know what I'm saying? Reminds me of being a female.
yeah. I mean, there's so many different emotions with that, right? From both sides of things, right? You know, I know my boyfriend works at the fire hall, and he said they're in the fire hall, like his whole place is men, right? But they have
Yeah.
tampons in there. I know a lot of men that are pretty upset with the fact that. So, I mean, but and it goes down to even just sharing a bathroom with a male. Like,
That's right.
why can't we? I mean, there's many
That's right.
restaurants where I live here in London, Ontario, that got rid of the women's bathroom, and they are now unisex. So I was like, well, why are you taking our bathroom away? Why can't you just create a unisex bathroom for, you know, I myself,
Totally.
like, you know, I'm a sexual assault survivor. I don't feel comfortable going into a bathroom, especially at nighttime, especially when there's alcohol at the establishment.
Totally.
Um, you need to give us choices, and that's what's not happening. Is that women's rights are being put on the back burner nowadays, whether it
That's
comes to
right.
sports, whether it comes to shelters, prisons, all of it, all the
All
above.
of it. All of it. It's shocking, and I 100% agree with you. I see it because now, why is this all about women? Because you just said they took the women's room. Did they take the men's room away, or only the women's
No,
room?
it's either men's or it's unisex, and that's the part
Wow.
where, you know, it's
Wow.
that's what I have a problem with. Like, I think you know me
What?
well enough, Buck, that I don't have a problem with, and I've said this on many interviews.
No.
I have no problem with anyone who wants to identify as a male or female. Live your
That's right.
life. That's amazing. But please don't take the women's rights away. Like, don't, you know, put us on the back burner to appease,
That's right.
you know, these
We're
people.
appeasing biological males. I'll say it. I'm trans. I can fucking say it. You know what I mean? Like, no, we are appeased biological males. Those are trans women are biological males. Now they're going to come in and just literally dismantle female space. Not on my watch. Nope. Sorry. You know what? Men don't care about me. April. They don't care. They don't feel threatened by me because I'm not a threat. I'm still biologically female. They don't feel uncomfortable around me. I'm not challenging them. You know what I mean? Even if I decided to play sports, I'm still not a threat because I'm still a biological female. That being said, men, and what you said, you're a sexual survivor, assault survivor. Lots of women are,
Mhm.
including me, right? So now you're being put into space and forget your rights. I mean, if people don't see this, there's something wrong, April, because you can't not see there's an attack on women's rights. You can't not see it.
Well, it's an attack on women in all areas. It's what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
It's you know, people can label it as misogyny, you know, dominance. I do
Yep.
believe a lot that has to do with dominance because, you
Yep.
know, there's been times where federations have created separate categories for transgenders, and they don't
Yeah.
even want that. They don't show up. So, you
Yep.
know, so, I mean, it just kind of shows that they want to dominate, right? There's got to be some type of almost, I don't want to say the word incentive or reward, but there's a
Yeah.
reason why men are going into the cycling and taking all the prize money. Why is there a 50-year-old swimmer in Ontario identifying as a 13-year-old girl to go in the change room? There's some kind of, you know, incentive or whatever. So
Uh, the incentive for that one,
yeah,
the P word,
yeah,
which they changed to maps, but 100% a 50-year-old man identifying as a 13-year-old people. How and Canada's letting that man swim with those little girls.
yeah, the police, like they put, I mean, you've seen Rebel News. They've been doing
Yeah.
many interviews, and
Yeah.
the police unfortunately protect this man. I mean,
What?
I mean, the point is he has the opportunity to use the unisex or the family washroom, and he does not. So
There you
that's
go.
the clincher right there, is that
There
he
you go.
doesn't use it. You know, you're putting, we don't know. I mean, obviously, no one goes in there with a camera to see what's going on, but there has
Maybe
been
they should.
parents that are very upset, and they have to put a towel around their child so that he doesn't see them, and vice versa, right? So,
And
um,
and what
yeah,
is that teaching young kids, right? So it's not teaching young kids a positive thing towards trans people, just so you know. That is teaching little kids to see this dude saying he's a woman. That's little kids are seeing this and they're like, ew. So you don't think these little kids are going to grow up and think all trans people are predators and weirdos? They are. It's doing a disservice to us. It's not helping us at all.
Yeah, no, and I think a lot of the areas aren't helping. I mean, even with the guy said going back to creating a separate category, like
Yes.
I've said
Yes.
this time and time again, where
Yes.
say if that particular lifter in my federation, they could
Yes.
have they could have actually ran with this and said, hey, you know what? I'm going to be a positive role model. I'm going
That's
to
right.
create my own federation, or I'm
Yeah.
going to be a spokesperson. You could have been an advocate.
That's right.
You could have sold T-shirts. You know what I
So
mean?
many.
It could have been such a positive, and that's how I guess I would have looked at it,
Yeah, that's
um,
right.
and what I would have done. But I mean, yeah, but then, I don't live in the body of a transgender, so I don't know what goes through their heads. So I can't speak for everyone, but I'm just saying,
No, but you don't
you know,
have to. I'm speaking for trans people on some level here. And I'm telling you, I have walked the world this way for a long time. It's up to me, not up to you, to navigate the world in order to find, because we're a little teeny percentage of the world. Right? That's why it's so ridiculous. We're all bending over backwards for like tiny little space in the world. And I'll tell you what, that's how I know this person doesn't care, because if they actually were a trans person, they would take exactly what you said, the opportunity to create a trans space, right? And if you create a and what you said earlier, they created a trans swimming league. No trans people showed up, none. So
no, exactly, yeah.
what? So I don't think they want to create fairness. They feel entitled to your space. You know that.
Exactly. And I love what you said the other, I think it was a couple of weeks ago. And I said this all along, is that, it only takes one female athlete, so say me, in a federation to say
That's right.
no to this.
That's
It's
right.
not a matter of, oh, we need everyone to boycott. It's not a
No.
matter of we need everyone to speak up. It's
Yeah.
only one person that says no. And
Yeah.
that's when the federation should be stepping up. And
That's right.
let's not I don't like to sit here on interviews anyways, and I'm not bad mouthing that particular person in my
No.
federation, because at the end of the
No.
day, that person's following the policy, and the policy makers are the ones that need to be held
Great.
accountable, and these
Great.
board members,
Great.
because at the end of the day, they're the ones, right? So,
That's
I
right.
mean,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
right.
So, I mean, I don't want to. I've never wanted to sit here and speak ill will about anyone. Does it anger me? For sure.
Yeah.
Do I think they're entitled? Definitely.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would never ever would say anything bad about that person. I mean,
No, that's their
it's not right.
integrity.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
integrity, April. You're not here to, and I'm not here either. We're here because we need to put this out bigger. I mean, we were on peers. That's like pretty huge. But you know what I mean? As long as you keep raising, and I want to raise awareness around this. No one's saying trans athletes shouldn't compete. Nobody's saying any of that. In fact, I want Ann to compete, but it has to be fair. You can't, what I always say is this: you can't override other people's rights for your rights. You can't do that. That's not fair in itself.
Exactly.
And if there's only 5 trans athletes, but there's 500 women athletes, yet these 5 athletes go in and dominate every female, that in itself, the fact that we're all just letting that happen and acting like nothing is wrong, the elephant in the room, no one wants to say anything.
Yeah. Well, and the sad part is the reaction to it. Because I mean, again, like
Yeah.
I said, if
Yeah.
that person had just embraced it and spun it around to
Yeah.
be a positive, it would have been a lot better. Because again, you said it, I've said it. Everyone deserves the right to play sports.
That's right.
Everyone deserves, safety and integrity and fairness.
That's
But
right.
it can't be at the expense of women. And
Nope.
at this point in time, it's almost like they have privileges, not rights. And that's what we have to get back. We have to go
Yes.
back like 10 years ago, honestly, so
Honestly, and so I really appreciate you saying that, and I don't think anyone would think that about you, but thank you for saying that, because it's true. April's not here to bash anybody, and neither am I. I want fairness, okay? I come from athletics. I was a high-ranking female athlete back in the 80s. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. I get how hard it is for you to get to that level, April. You work your ass off, and then to have some person who is not even supposed to be in that space just rip you up. I mean, I would actually cry. I would cry after all that hard work. And then so do you have a suspension now?
Yeah, so I'm still suspended. I was suspended for 2 years, which is crazy. 2 years was like
What?
the same penalty you would give someone that got caught for doping. So it was pretty harsh.
Wow.
Obviously, they did that to send a message out to everyone else, like you better keep your mouth quiet, like shut, because you
That's
know.
right. That's right.
But we did appeal it. My lawyer and I did spend the money to
Great.
appeal it, so
Great.
it got lessened to a year. But the thing is, I should never have been banned. We all know
Nope.
that information. But the thing is, I do understand that they had to kind of use me as an example to
That's right.
kind of, put it out there. And at the end of the day, I went against their social media policy. So their social media policy or their code of ethics is basically you can't, which is kind of funny. It's ironic because you can't, slander. You can't make fun of any other lifters. You can't badmouth.
Okay.
But all along, this other person got to say whatever they wanted. They could make fun of females. They could call me a bigot, a transphobe, all these other things.
Wow.
But there was no consequences to that. But I was the one that kind of got targeted, centered out, just for the mere fact that it's like, I mean, it's like, I feel like I'm getting in trouble because I said like, a man can't be a woman or vice versa. Or
Yeah.
like, what if I
Yeah.
believed in two genders, which I do?
Yeah.
So now they're trying to curtail my speech, but they're also trying to control my belief system, right?
That's right.
And when we're talking about sports specifically,
Mhm.
every interview that I will do, and I will keep saying it, is that I will call them a man or a woman because we
Mhm.
need to bring in the biology part of it because bodies compete in sports, not identities. So,
Bam. That's it. End of conversation.
yeah,
It's
there you go, we're done.
fact. Fact. Fact, fact, fact. That's why they've always had boy and girl, men and women sports events. If this wasn't the case forever, we would have never made different spaces. And you know, nobody is sitting here saying trans people shouldn't compete. That's never been the conversation. The conversation has been, why do women have to move over for men identifying as women to compete? Because that's all it is. I'm a woman identifying as a man. They're the opposite of me. I have no problem saying that, and I have no problem walking the world with people knowing that, right? Because that's a true transsexual. But these people are trying to tell us there's something they're not, right? And then expecting us to just pretend like it's a fair competition when they're literally blowing everyone away. So how are you ever going to get that record back, right? So did this person set a record in Canada?
So the person holds, I think, 3 out of 5 records. So right now in Alberta, which actually, funny enough, is the province which last night Danielle Smith, the premier, announced that they are going to be creating female-only sports. Same with the gender affirming care is age 15 and under, which is awesome. But no, this person holds 3 out of 5 records, and also
Wow.
another male, Avi Silverberg, holds the bench only record. So 4 out of the 5 records in Alberta are currently held by men.
I
Now,
mean, I can't handle it. I can't. I don't know how you handle it. I can't.
well,
What?
it's of course, like I mean, I couldn't like this is why I'm speaking out because I mean, back when I discovered that Anne was a male,
Yeah.
because we were friends before online, and we talked a
Wow.
fair bit about training, and I actually didn't clue in to that until he told me, and that's when I said to him, like, well, if you are thinking about going further into this, like, competing at international or competing at all,
Yeah.
I think it's completely unfair. You shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
And he basically blocked and deleted me so I couldn't converse with them anymore.
Yeah.
And so I actually brought it to my federation's attention after that. And I completely got ignored for the first little while. But then I joined forces with like Icons and Linda Blade and Riley. We got some great women. Yeah.
Yeah, I love them.
Yeah. So it's been a rough ride. But I mean, again, and then going back to my prior conversation, like Anne and I, like we did used to chat. And
Wow.
Like when I say that I'm compassionate and I actually do care, I really do, because there
Yeah.
are times where I actually cried for Anne because I felt so bad because I didn't want to take anything away from him.
Sure.
I
Sh-
understand, much like powerlifting has saved my life with my addictions and my
Yeah.
alcoholism,
Sure.
I'm sure that does the same for Anne in certain ways too,
Yes.
right? So I,
Yes.
I never wanted anything ill will towards Anne. All I
Yeah.
ever wanted was a separate category. That's all I had ever asked the Federation. I mean, many women wrote in and many women
Yeah.
asked Federation, we just want a separate category. So,
And 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 then what did they say to you when you said that?
well, they ignored me for the first little while, and then I kept on getting stronger and stronger with my voice. I was like, okay, if you're going to ignore me, then I'm just going to keep putting it out there even louder.
Great.
And then finally, they were like, well, sorry, we can't do anything because they're protected under Bill C-16 by Canadian law. And I was like, well, so gender expression is protected, but guess what? So is sex.
Yep.
And there is something
Okay.
called sex discrimination, and that's
Yeah.
what the women are suffering from, is sex discrimination. So, you know, it's funny how they don't recognize that. It's just that they're like, oh no, we're getting discriminated against, but you're not, because no one has ever said we don't want you to compete. We're just saying you can compete, but in a separate category. If we
That's right.
said no, you're banned, no, then that's
That's right.
discrimination.
That's right. That's
But
right.
honestly, Buck, I talked to I had breakfast today with my lawyer, and
Uh-huh.
um, I think this came out like back in, like, I think it was like 2010, where we saw these charts, and there was like a spike in social media usage by young people, right? And then you have TikTok, right? And then you have COVID that happened, and everyone was at
Yeah.
home. So a lot of the time, these people, I mean, they kind of got their identity from social media, right?
Right. Right.
So a lot of people are say suffering from mental illness,
Yes.
undiagnosed mental illness, right?
Yep.
So they're like, well, you know what? I don't want to feel this way anymore. I'm going to go switch sexes, or I'm going to be a cat for the
Yep.
day,
Yep.
or something, right? But what's scary is that when I was younger, when I was sexually abused,
Mhm.
I actually wanted to be a boy after. When I was
That's
5 years old, I started being like a tomboy, but I started cutting my hair short.
right.
I cut my Barbie's hair very short because I thought, if I'm a little boy or if I'm a male,
Mhm.
men won't touch me anymore. They won't come after
Wow.
me. So you imagine if they had gender affirming care back then, I would have
Yes.
been like
Oh,
possibly a boy, right?
totally.
So a
Totally.
lot of this is sexual trauma. A
That's
lot of
right.
it is undiagnosed mental illness,
That's
right?
right. Yep. Yep.
And that's so scary. I didn't realize this until I talked to Megan Murphy about it, and I was like, wow,
Yeah.
I actually
That's right.
I tried to preserve, like, self-protect myself at such a young. Isn't that smart though? Like, I was only 5 years old, but I
Yes.
clued in that if I
Yes.
was a boy, that I wouldn't be hurt anymore, or sexually abused. So
Well, you're really speaking to something I talk about a lot, because I'm going to tell you the majority of young people who are transitioning are what? Girls. It's like
mhm.
literally 4,000% increasing girls, not boys, girls who are saying, I'm a boy. I want to cut my boobs off and I want to look like a boy. And I'm pretty sure it's literally what you just said, right? They want to escape being a girl, being touched, being looked at sexually. There's a lot. And these kids aren't getting any mental health care, April. They're just being pushed, affirmed. They're not even being given any type of therapy, any type of understanding. Why are they feeling this way, right? None of it. Zero. Just if they say they're trans, they're trans.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's funny. It just all comes down to the mental, right? Because
That's
like
right.
you even have women, very
Yeah.
common women over the age 40,
Yep.
that become lesbians
Yep.
because they've been hurt by a man,
That's right.
or scorned. I actually know 3 in my life that are my good friends that are like,
Wow.
you know what I mean? And I was like, oh,
Wow.
and they're like, I'm just done. I'm done with men. I've had it. And they're like, so,
I mean, I hear you.
so,
But
yeah.
yeah, that's a thing, though. The thing that I want to, everybody always says to me, well, they used to, because I believe this is a mental disorder. I have a mental disorder. There's no doubt about it. This is not normal to feel this way. It's completely not. I didn't transition till the age of 30, though, right? So I lived through a life, and I think that's what people need to do to get, this should be the last resort, right? But I also, people are like, well, Buck, they used to call homosexuality a mental disorder, but they don't anymore. I said, completely different thing. If someone wants to try, be gay or whatever, no harm. You can literally back out of it and go and be a straight person, right? With nothing done to you. This is a completely different. My whole appearance has changed. Medicine. This is something you can't reverse, right? So don't equate homosexuality with trans. Those are completely two different things. And this is a mental disorder because I have to look like a man in order for me to walk the world normal. That's not normal. It is not.
Yeah.
Doesn't make me a bad person or a weirdo. It just makes me have a mental disorder that I accept.
Yeah. So you, I was kind of going along with that, and you just said that part, and that's what I was saying. Like when I brought in about the being a lesbian after 40, it's all mental. So like you have this
That's right.
5-year-old who got hurt. I got hurt because I was being sexually abused, right? And I thought, okay, to protect myself, I'm gonna be a boy so they don't touch me. Well, now you have like the 50-year-old woman that's like, I got hurt by that man. I don't want to be hurt again. So I'm just gonna like, it's all like a mental thing. When at the end of the day, maybe you just needed some therapy or psychological help. You know what I mean? Or
That's right.
medication, or
That's right.
yeah.
That's right. Well, we're skipping over all of that, and we have the thing called affirmation, right?
Yeah.
So Anne, being a biological male who wants to be a woman, no one cares. Go for it. Look at me. I'm a biological female. I want to be a man. No one cares. It's like I move forward in the world. Just move forward. But the problem I have, and I'm going to say this, and I would say it to Anne as well, is that Anne knows better. I'm going to tell you right now, as a transsexual person, we know exactly what we're doing. We know exactly where we come from. I believe Anne knows exactly what Anne is doing. And that Anne, to me, this is my opinion, not April's, doesn't have any integrity. And she's not helping, and I'm calling her she to be respectful to Anne, is not helping us move forward in our trans rights. Because what will happen now is everyone will see Anne as a representation of us. And that is why I sit with people like April, because I don't want to be lumped into something of Anne. And if Anne was smart, Anne would have, what you said, April, would have just literally talked about it and said, you know what, I shouldn't be doing this, and give back whatever trophies or whatever kind of things. Here's what I think, April. I think people will wake up and they'll take all those trans trophies and all those trans records back. I really believe it, because this cannot stay that way. It can't.
Well, no, and for the main reason is that those records will never be broken by a female. So
It's
yeah,
shocking. I'm like,
yeah,
what?
yeah. So
I'd be pissed. And I told you I was an athlete too, man. You work hard to win that race, right?
yeah,
And then this fucking dude is like, just literally like, wham. Okay, we're done.
yeah. Well, and you know what? And the sad part is that it had to happen. I like when Anne actually competed at the regionals last year.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is wonderful. I was actually just so happy that he blew everyone out of the water by 462 pounds. Like, it was crazy. And I was like, I just loved it, because I was like, this is what we need to happen to wake people up. Now, he will have the records. I don't know for how long, but I do believe those will be stripped and given back to the rightful owners. It's just going to happen. It could happen this year, even as we speak. But with the new announcement by Danielle Smith, I mean, huge win for fairness and women and girls and children. I don't know if you watched the whole 7-minute monologue, but it was just an epic speech.
Epic.
And I can say right now, I am confident that other provinces will follow suit.
Yeah.
There's already been talks by other provinces, and I do have some good news probably at the end of February, which I'm not going to divulge right now. It's going to be great. So it'll be all over the media. So, I mean, I'm not going to say anything, but surprise.
Oh no, we're gonna. So it's the likes of you and Riley and all of you standing up and finally saying enough is enough. I mean, I think the surfer lady, didn't she, when Rip?
Bethany, yeah.
So they're getting sick of it. And do you blame women? Come on, man. This is the most insane. The fact that we're even having these conversations, April, is so pathetic. I do consider it misogyny. I'll be honest with you. I do.
Yeah, no, it's misogyny. It is dominance. You know, and who else is to blame is the people. I mean, you have a
Yeah.
lot of people going along with it. You know,
Yeah.
I said this on Rebel News earlier today. I said, well, where are the parents? You know, especially with that swimmer, the parents should be speaking up. And we put too much pressure on women. Men should be speaking up just as much as women. You know, it's not
That's
just
right.
a woman thing.
No,
It's a universal
that's
everyone
right.
thing is
And
what it
every
is.
I have a wife, I have a mom, I have sisters. I'm also a biologically female. Joe Rogan says a lot about this. I have to whether however you feel about him, he's very, very powerful in speaking out again. I was on his show like God 7 or so years ago, and remember that fighter girl, dude, whatever, the trans
Fallen
woman.
Fox. Fallen Fox, yes.
That busted that girl's head, like just slaughtered her. And that's me. I already was outspoken about it, and Fallen came after me, and I was like, whatever, whatever, man. But literally smashed the face of that one girl in. It's sick.
Well, that's yeah. She, no, she actually smashed her skull actually, and at the end of the fight, she was very proud of it too,
I
or he
know.
was very proud of
Yeah,
it, and
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and that's what's happening now. And it's funny. I just started boxing again a couple weeks ago, and I was unaware about the boxing federation policy, so
Yeah.
that might be another federation I might have to tackle if I get.
Yeah, you have a whole new career out of this. That's kind of awesome.
Yeah. I
So,
didn't. That's the thing. I didn't really think I was gonna get like I got sober in 2019. I came
yay.
out of rehab. I started
Yeah,
powerlifting, and then I was like, great. I was doing really well at it. And then
yeah.
my boyfriend's kind of like, well, I guess you didn't really think you'd be here, would you? Like, an advocate. And I was like, I just kind of fell into it. Didn't know I was so passionate about it. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess I've always been very like not a feminist, but very passionate about women's rights.
Well, you don't have to be a feminist to be a woman's rights. It's just
Yeah,
it's the
exactly.
right thing to do.
Oh,
This
on a
is
turf. I get called a turf all the
me
time.
too. I get called transphobic.
Well,
it's
it's
oh
so
I it's crazy, April.
it's like
These people.
I feel like I'm in grade 4. Like when they start saying, "Oh, you're a turf" or "You're like bigot," I'm like, it's like you're in grade 3 calling
That's right.
your little brother a dummy. I'm like, that's
Totally.
like, come on, that's just so immature. Like they can
Yeah.
call me a turf all day long. I mean, it doesn't bother me
Me neither.
whatsoever. I even
Right.
say that I'm a proud turf because I mean, if that means that I don't want men in my washrooms or my shelters or sports, then I guess I am a turf. So
Well, I am too, because I know I'm a trans person. I know exactly what's going on over here, and I know exactly why biological males should not be in female spaces. Sorry, I don't care how. Look, every trans woman I know, April, looks like you. Okay, they're very feminine, they're female, no one would ever know they were dudes, right? That's the real transsexual people. And also, they would never go in a space if they felt like it was going to be on some level uncomfortable for you. That's a real trans woman. There's a lot of trans women who agree with me and you, just so you know. They don't want to be in your space. They don't want to make you uncomfortable. They want to walk with you, but also if you're uncomfortable, they'll remove themselves from, but they make an effort to look like a woman, right? So they can go in the restroom and no one would notice that.
great, show me one because I haven't encountered one yet. So to be
All
honest,
because they're all hiding. They're all hiding. They don't want to be around this shit. I don't even want to be, but I have to stand up as an elder in this community, right? I'm one of the oldest sort of living trans people at this point, and I won't stand for it. I tell everybody every day, I will not stand for our community doing weird shit and pretending like it's literally okay to do this, because it's not. It has nothing to do with being trans. It's just not right. It's
no.
not. It's not right.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I mean, the general consensus is that I mean, a lot of these protests too,
Yeah.
they are very, very violent, and I mean, and
Yes. Yes.
people have come after my job. Like, I won't give names out, but two
Yeah.
of Anne's followers, basically. Came after my job, and you know,
Wow.
basically, at first they tried to get me kicked out of some gyms, and then they came after my job. And
Wow.
I mean, and that just
Wow.
goes to show to me that you have nothing to defend yourself. You're just using these tactics because you don't have anything, right? So,
That's right.
um, and you know, when you stand for truth, I mean, for me, I can go to bed every night and sleep soundly because I'm standing for truth,
Yep.
common sense, logic.
Yep.
You know, I'm true to myself. I know I'm a very
Yep.
empathetic. I'm a good person. I have a huge heart. I don't go after people or trying to ruin their day or to
That's
their
right.
lives or what have you. I'm pro women. I'm pro sports. I mean, and these tactics that they use, and even at protests, you know, they're always wearing a mask. They can never show their face. Like,
I know,
so
it's so obvious. Also, why can trans women speak out, but women can't? Right? Why? What? I don't get it. I actually don't.
yeah, I again, yeah, it's just very, it's entitlement, right? Yes, when it comes to women.
Well, let's not forget they are biological males. They were socialized as men. You and I have been socialized as women. You know, women are taught not to stand up for themselves. So when a woman like you stands up, right, you're considered like some bitch or a bully or, you know what I mean? Like just all kinds of stuff. But when a trans woman stands up for themselves, they're considered like, you know, oh, wow, so amazing and powerful. Yet they forget that these are biological men who've been totally taught how to they've been taught how to manipulate the system, and they get stuff. Men get stuff all the time over women. I know that because now I live as a man. Trust me, it's a different space. You walk the world totally different than when you walk
Well,
the
it
world
is
as a
true,
woman.
and females are just genetically, we are just more nurturing creatures, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
we're more, and
yes.
that's why you see a lot of women that are actually supporting this, you know, in sports, saying, you know what,
Yeah,
don't like we, you know,
yeah.
don't hurt their feelings, and like they support this, and I'm like, what are you
Wow.
doing? And I get it. Women are nurturing creatures, right? But at
Yes,
the same time, um, it's enabling us, right?
that's right.
They got to cut it off. Like I'm a very nurturing person too, but
Yes.
I also know what's right, what's wrong. You know, it's not about people hurting people's feelings. Like,
No,
sorry, uh, my feelings have been hurt. I don't know how many times in my lifetime, and I'm
that's
just like,
right.
go suck it up, Buttercup. That's I'm sorry.
Right on.
You know, that's it. Just makes you a stronger person, right? So I mean,
100%.
you can't
Struggle
have
is
a hissy
everything.
fit. Yeah,
I
you
mean,
can't have a hissy fit.
getting sober is not easy. So, you know, I have 30 years of sobriety. It is
Oh,
not
do you?
easy.
Oh, good.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice.
So I'll just tell you though, it's not easy. You know it, but the fact that you took that into your says again so much about you. You care about yourself and you care to be a better person in the world. And you saw that it was taking you down. But you know, I want to go back to this idea that you said that they're always so angry, the trans women. It's true. They're
Mhm.
always attacking at the women's rallies. They're always showing up to shut women down, right? But you don't see, do you ever see trans men showing up at men's rallies and saying, shut up? Ever.
No,
Never.
no.
Never.
A very, very small. I actually don't know actually any, to be honest,
We
right?
just
Out
don't.
here where I live. So
Those are things people need to see. You have to see that the trans women aren't a representation. These crazy trans women are not a representation of the trans community. I don't agree with anything that's coming out of that space. It's I can't watch somebody like April lose everything she's fought for because some trans woman needs to have some validation, which you and I both know that's what it is, April. They need validation.
yeah, and I mean that's and then, yeah, and validation. I mean that's I was thinking about that today when I was driving, and I'm like, you know, I use pronouns because you know, not I don't well, put it this way, I use pronouns when I have to use pronouns. If I have to follow a policy, okay,
Yeah.
um, say for my job, say if my job required me to use pronouns, of course
Mhm.
I'm going to use pronouns all day long, right? But when I'm done work or if I'm living my life or whatever, I'm on holidays or I'm just off, I'm not working. I mean, I have the right to my own belief system. I
That's
do
right.
believe there's only two genders. I do
Yep.
believe, you know, I don't, um, I guess I don't use pronouns because I don't think it's healthy for anyone to be using pronouns because
Yeah.
you're literally just enabling it and you're
Yeah.
reinforcing that, right?
Yeah.
My boyfriend has said the same thing. He has three girls.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, they've succumbed to the wokeness, and they think that trans women are women. And we said, you know what? Cool. You're allowed to have your views,
That's right.
okay, but don't get mad at us if you don't like our views. But you are so open to have your own belief system, We're
Yep.
not forcing ours on you. Please don't force your views on us.
Right.
But my boyfriend has said, like, if his daughters ever came up to him and said, Dad, I want you to call me a boy, he was straight up and said, I won't do that. I will
Right.
not call
Good
you a
for him.
boy. Um, but again, it's not my job at the end of the day to give someone their validation or to give
That's
them their
right.
self-esteem. I get my
Right.
self-esteem and my validation from myself. And
Mm.
how do I do that? Well, I do, like, I volunteer. I feel good when I volunteer and help
Yep.
people. That's giving me great self-esteem and
Yep.
validation. There's other ways you can get it, right?
Yep.
Than to say
That's right.
someone's pronouns. You know what I mean? Like, they
Uh,
have to look in the mirror and you have to love yourself and get that from yourself.
that's right.
It's not up to society to give that to
Nope.
you. So
And also, you got to work to get this. People don't call me she; they call me he because I really worked on it, right? And this is a journey, and we're not teaching the kids. This isn't easy. Do you think this is easy living like this? No way. I would never
yeah,
want. I would prefer a kid grow out of trans, right, than ever wanting to take this path. This path is a last resort. We've got to
yeah.
teach kids that biological sex is real and you will never change your sex, but we're telling these kids that they can be boys and girls when they cannot be boys and girls, right? They can't. And I think your boyfriend is doing the right thing. You have to start pushing
Yeah.
back on these kids.
Well, like
I,
you, Buck, like I love you. I think you're a fantastic person. But if you came up to me and said, call me a man, or do you think I'm a man? I'd be like, well, no, sorry, Buck, you're not. You're actually a boy.
That's right. That's right. And I wouldn't be insulted. I
Yeah.
honestly wouldn't because I know who I am. Like you said earlier, you know who you are. You work on it. I know exactly. I don't need you to validate me. If you feel like you need to call me she, it's not going to end our friendship. It's just going to be like, okay, that's what you need to do. And people will
Yeah.
laugh at you if we're in public because you're like, why are you calling that dude she?
Well, you know what? If you think of a Buck, it's so silly because even like in
Silly.
my day, I
Yeah.
never had to use pronouns. So
Nope.
in my day job or whenever I am out and about, even if I'm not
Yep.
working, I always say they anyways. But I've never
Yeah.
had a time where I've had to think, oh, do I have to use
Yeah.
pronouns? I guess sometimes I'm just polite when I work. I'm like, I call people sir, ma'am. It's
Yep.
very old fashioned.
Yeah.
I guess some people could flip out on me for that, but at the end of the day,
Whatever.
I'm trying to be
Yeah.
polite, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I've never had to use pronouns. So I don't see, like,
That's
if
right.
I hung out with you or another transgender friend, none of my friends are ever going to come up to me and say, you have to call me this, or
That's right.
it's going to be like that. Like, you wouldn't be
That's
like
right.
that. You wouldn't be
Never.
and like, so
Never. Because I'm already coming to you looking like this. Believe me, in your brain, you see me as a dude. You know that I'm not, but your brain is not. So that's what I'm telling you. There's something different going on today. They're forcing you to use pronouns. Like if you said you were a dude right now and you look like a chick and I'm supposed to call you he, but every time I see you, I see a she. It's not
yeah,
my fault that my brain is registering she.
exactly.
It's not our fault that we misgender people when they're not making an effort to make themselves even look like a man or a woman, right? So you're going to get misgendered whether you like it or not, even if you.
Whether you
And
like it or
also
not, yeah.
you can't force people to change their belief system. It's like making a Christian become a Jewish person because you believe that. You can't do that. That's just
No.
not going to work
Well,
in the
you,
world.
you can't make, and that's why I was so upset because to me, I can't lie every day to myself. So for
Right on.
example, you would
Right
know,
on.
Buck, like
Yeah.
in AA,
Yeah.
on the back of my coin, it says, to
Yeah.
thine own self be true. And on the
That's
other
right.
side, it has the serenity prayer. Okay.
That's right.
So that's why for me, I cannot lie. Like even if I
Yep.
tell a little lie, like my boyfriend, I'll be like, "Oh, did you put hot chili peppers in the food?" I'm like, "No, I didn't." And he's like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "His mouth is burning." I'm like, "Okay, I did." But like I can't lie. It's not good for me.
Yeah.
It's not good for my
That's right.
sobriety. I would
That's
surely,
right.
like, if I kept lying or say I was cheating or what have you, of
Yep.
course I would relapse. Like that's just how.
Because it's not part of your sobriety. The whole point of sobriety is to start to be honest about what you are, who you are, how you did, why you drank. That's the crux of AA is coming back to reality. So you make a lot. That's actually a really great point, April. It is. So even in regards to your sobriety, they're teaching you can't lie. And so that should also be part of the conversation. That's who you are, your integrity, who you are. I'm not going to lie. And that's where we need to get back to because we are lying. when we say a man can become a woman or a woman can become a man. That's not true. We can change our appearance, we can change the way we walk in the world, but the reality of it is, guess what? I have to go to the gynecologist. What other man has to go to the gynecologist?
Yeah.
For reals.
Yeah, and that's yeah. I mean, that's it. At the end of the day,
Stupid.
that's what happened with me was that when I found out that and I again I didn't know. I just thought Anne was a woman.
Yep. Yep.
I didn't say anything until he told me it was a man, and then that's when
Yep.
I was like, okay, so right now I'm the only person that knows about this. And do I sleep on it? And do I try to sleep? But knowing this like secret of what
Yeah.
I knew,
Yeah.
that's why I had to go to the federation because a lot of the
Awesome.
women didn't even know that they were competing against a man. Like they had no idea. Again, we were women and we're like being polite. We're like, well, we don't want to assume anything. My friend
Wait a
Christine,
minute. Wait. So, when Anne registered to do this, Anne registered as a female.
yes, because in the Canadian Powerlifting Federation, you do not have to declare what sex you are. Like you basically registered as a female, yeah. And so there was a couple of
What?
times, yeah, yeah,
Wait a minute here. Wait,
yeah, yeah,
wait, that's the problem. Right there is the problem. That person should have had to. That's a medical condition, by the way.
yeah,
Transsexualism is an actual medical condition. The fact that that person did not have to say they are trans is a
yeah.
completely, that's cheating.
Well, exactly, Buck. So that's what I'm
What?
saying is that Anne lifted in a couple competitions with some of my friends, and they approached me after and said, "Oh my God, you're the one speaking up about this person. I had no idea." They go, "I kind of assumed because he had a lower voice or blah
Yeah,
blah blah," and I was
yeah.
like, "No, that's he was born a male." So some
What?
people, but again, women are just so nurturing. They're like, "Oh, I don't want to cause any like problems or what have
Yeah,
you." But Buck, since I've spoken up, though, this is the best part: is that because I spoke up, the governing body, the IPF, the International Powerlifting Federation, demanded that Canadian Powerlifting Union adopt their transgender policy. And what that policy is that they must declare if you want to lift at anything higher than like Western regionals, like the regionals, you have to declare, you have to stay below a certain amount of testosterone for a year, but you also have
okay,
to be continuously monitored.
right.
But the clincher of this whole policy, which makes it almost impossible to get through, is that they need medical records from a psychologist. They need psych records and the diagnosis. And that's what you said earlier. And a lot of these people are not submitting that because they think it's either goes against their rights or they don't have it. And that's what we need because any grifter, any male grifter could just go, well, my boyfriend could be like, well, I have low testosterone. I'm just going to
That's
go
right.
in as a woman and go smash it at Worlds.
That's
So
right.
as much as the policy is not perfect, it's hell of a lot better than what the Canadian Powerlifting Union was, which was literally any man could waltz in there and say, I'm a female today. It happened with Avi Silverberg, the Team Canada coach.
That's right.
He said, I'm a female. He took the bench record actually away
That's
from
right.
hands. Like,
Oh, I mean, wow. So, I have to say again, April, that's part of your work. The fact that you are speaking out, that now these loopholes that were these laws that were just thrown to help trans people with gigantic loopholes are now being addressed. And that, you're. Oh, I just want to say this again. I'm going to keep thanking you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because all the young girls, no, I'm not kidding. I was one of those young girls who was in sports, and it meant a lot to me to show up for the soccer team and track and all those things. It meant a lot to me to be in sports. It really helped me a lot struggling as a kid. So we can't let young girls like be taken back because now we're going to let all these boys come in and train with them and beat the crap and a 50-year-old man swimming with them.
yeah.
What?
Yeah, like where does it end, right? So it's
Where
like,
does it end?
and
That's
that's
right.
what like I honestly I said this to my friend earlier, and I said like I have two nieces, right?
Yeah.
I obviously if it was all about me, I would have been like, oh, okay, well I got
Yeah.
banned, so I'll just quit speaking out because I can't lift anyways, right? But no,
Yeah.
I pushed it further, and I wanted the policy changed, and that's what I had. I could give to, I'm not going to swear, I could care less if I ever compete again. You know what I mean? I will do
Wow.
this all over again. And if I get banned
Wow.
for 5 years, whatever. And
Wow.
people kind of looked at me and said, well, are you happy you got the suspension decreased to a year? I was like, I'm just happy the policy changed. I
Right
don't
on.
agree with getting banned. I think it was wrong, but
Yep.
there's nothing I can do about it now except for keep
Yep.
speaking out for women and keep trying to
Yep.
get other federations to follow suit.
That's right.
What we need to do is push this at legislation because that's where the
Yeah.
real changes happen. It's not me
Yeah.
suing the federation. That's,
Yeah.
even though I hate a couple of the bad apples on the board that
Sure.
treated me unfairly,
Sure.
I'm better than that. And I'm not going to go after them. I'm going to go
Yeah.
where the roots are. And this is where you can create change. And that's in parliament and that's in the
Excellent.
system. Yeah.
Excellent, April. You're a powerhouse. So do you get to compete? So what if they? So now you have a 1 year suspension. So during this time you just train. Is that what you're doing? Just training and waiting for the
Yeah, so
suspension?
now I've always been training. I never stopped training. So I'm at a new gym now, which I love. I have a new
Excellent.
coach and I actually took some
Excellent.
time off and I lost some weight. I lost like about
Mhm.
20 pounds because I was getting kind of heavy in my sport because I'm in the highest weight class. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was starting to feel kind of crappy
Yeah.
health wise. So
Yeah.
like powerlifters, like unless you're like in your 20s, a lot of them get big, right? And it's really
Yeah.
it's funny how some people call themselves athletes because really like unless you live and live the life of an athlete 24/7, which is diet, nutrition, sleep, all those other things. You can't really call yourself an athlete, but I mean, I have
Sure.
always done those things. And I mean,
Yeah.
I feel better now that I've lost the weight. I'm probably going to
Yeah.
lose maybe 10 pounds more,
Wow.
but I started boxing again. I love it. And I'm still training 3 times a week. So I'll just be
Uh,
stronger. So like, I'm
that's
just training my ass off. So
That's why you just took a negative and you made it into a positive. And I think you can be a huge influence on young girls and people, not just women and girls, and just showing that you don't ever have to back down from your own integrity, your morals, your standards, none of it, just because everyone else is telling you this is how it has to be. That's the message I get from you, April, and why I'm a huge fan of yours, because it takes a lot. It does. As you notice, people haven't been standing up. But the more people like you who do, the more people feel empowered to stand up. So you, Riley, all of the women athletes who are really, what's her name, Silverstein? So, what's her name? The skater,
oh,
this
Taylor.
Taylor. I love Taylor.
Taylor,
She's
yeah, yeah.
awesome. Oh, I love her too.
I think
So
that's Silverstein, yeah. Yeah.
she's amazing too. So you all are doing amazing work, and I think we're going to start seeing a huge change. What if they decided that you can get rid of your full suspension? Would you go back to competing?
Well, I plan on competing. I think my
Great.
suspension is up on November 6th. So
Okay.
I won't be able to qualify for worlds this year or international meets. And
Mhm.
so at the end of the day, the whole Canadian Powerlifting Union, um, I mean, I have no respect for the board or
Yeah.
even the executive committee.
Sure.
So, but guess what? I'm Canadian. I have to lift in the Canadian Powerlifting Union if I want to go to Worlds or anything
That's
international.
right.
So I'm
That's
literally
right.
just using them. I mean, the IPF, no. I mean, I'm very close with the president and all the beautiful board
Great.
members. They've been nothing but supportive.
Great.
I have a great relationship, and I said to them, I'm like, I love you guys. I'm like,
Yeah.
if I had dual citizenship, I would go to Germany and go lift in Germany and then go to the IPF. But unfortunately, I have to go through the CPU. But I've lost all respect for them.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
everyone, but just the people that I've dealt with, like the CPU board members,
Yeah.
and they know who they are. So
They know who they are, and they know exactly what they did. And eventually, they're going to come back and try to apologize to you, and then you're going to have to figure out how to handle that one.
yeah,
What a bunch of
well,
pussies. I'm just gonna say it. Like, really, people are just going along with the charade. It's so weird. Like, it's just
well, it's
weird.
Well, and then that's the thing. Like I've heard like a couple of the board, like I actually saw conversations of one board member that basically said, "Oh, well, I agree with April, but it's better for us just to stay quiet because we don't want to lose any money." So
See? See,
it's money driven.
yeah,
It's like, oh, I don't want to be called out. I don't want to be called a
nope,
bigot. We'll just
nope,
like April take the heat. But
that's right.
secretly, they're probably applauding and going
They
like,
are.
so
That's what I'm saying. They're all babies, and it has to be people like you who stand up and eventually will be like, I always thought she was saying the right thing. You watch. I'm Mark. I'm old.
yeah,
I've been around a long time, and I'm telling you, I know how these people operate. It's so gross. And Canada's just losing it. My dad's Canadian. He's from
oh
Winnipeg.
really?
Yeah, so I can talk shit. Hilarious. You're awesome, April. Thank you. Is there anything you want to say before we leave, maybe out there to the world or to people?
Well, I think the main important message to get out there to people is, don't be afraid to speak up. You can't let people curtail your speech or tell you what your belief
Yeah,
systems are, right? If you see something wrong, which is, allowing a man or into sport or girls sports or even women's sports, speak up about it because that's how changes happen. This policy change would never have happened if I didn't speak up. So, I mean,
wow.
thank
Wow.
God I did, and I will
Yeah,
continue to speak up. And
right.
even just with my own federation, when I return back, I'll still be monitoring what's going on. I'll be working with the IPF. I mean, I'll be working with other federations. I
Great.
do have a March 8th on International Women's Day. I will be speaking in Toronto with a bunch
Excellent.
of other amazing speakers.
Wow.
And there will be some good news at the end of this month will be released. I can't, it's top secret.
I can't wait.
And also, if anyone wants to order a T-shirt from me, you can go to my new website, www.aprilhutchinson.com.
Okay,
I will have a store. I'm in transition, so please wait until about first week of February. I have a new store that I'm building.
great.
Basically, we'll have duffel bags, tumblers. We have shirts,
Excellent.
hoodies. So you can go on my website and see all my links to my media.
Excellent.
Your interview will be put on my will be
Excellent.
probably on the website. So yeah,
And please support her. Really, I mean, she can't do this alone. And whatever you can support her because this is how we make the change. And I'm telling you, as a transsexual, I really believe that what April's doing is important, not only for the female and the women's space, but also for the transsexual space. We need to understand fairness for everyone, not just some. So with that, April is a powerhouse. I love her so much, and thank you so much for your time today. And I think everyone's going to leave her beautiful comments, and they will. All my people here are so awesome. So leave her love and respect, and if you can support her, please do that. It would mean a lot to me. And I'll see you all on the live on Wednesday. And subscribe, ring that bell, do that stuff. Like this. Thank you so much. And I'll see you guys all next week.